Hello everyone. It is good to share some time with you, at least virtually. So for this session today, I have received a question from one of our students in Italy. And the question is as follows. So you might remember my whole family is in Italy and the number of deaths there is overwhelmingly high. The reports coming from there are sad. People die alone when they go in isolation, and only 4 members of the family are allowed to go to a small ceremony at the cemetery. The casket is burned, so family haven't got a chance to see their loved ones one last time. I've been struggling with the idea that the dignity of death is taken away and those who remain have not got an opportunity to process all that is happening. Could you please help me make sense of this, please? Okay. So, well, that is most certainly a very difficult situation. And there is little that we sometimes can do, and we are just confronted with really harsh kind of realities. And our usual reaction to these harsh realities is resistance, aversion. We don't want these difficult things to happen. And yet they do happen. They happen all over the world, every day to a lot of people. Just alone, losing a loved one is very, very challenging, very difficult. Being confronted with death oneself is very challenging, very difficult. And then on top of that, not being able to share our time with our loved ones before they pass makes the whole thing so much more harsh, so much more difficult. So I think the very first appropriate response to such a difficult situation will or could be one of acceptance. And it is in our lifetime that at all moments we can train to accept. We can train to allow this world and this life and ourselves and other people and nature to be just the way it is. Now, is that easy? No. Does it have to be easy? No. Do you have to be tough and calm and above the situation? Do you have to be cool in the face of difficulties and challenges such as these? No. It doesn't mean to accept something. It doesn't imply that you need to be calm and cool and composed and you need to have it all together and you need to be above the situation. That doesn't mean that. It means that you accept that it's difficult. It means that you accept that there is sadness within you, that there is a sense of complete helplessness within you and fear, often panic and even terror sometimes. All these things exist within you. They are there. It's undeniable. And so we start with first accepting that all these feelings belong in this situation. They are already there. There is nothing that you can do to make them go away. And in fact, any trying to make those feelings go away only makes it worse. It makes it more unbearable. So you're not able to host, to welcome, to give those feelings space. You're instead compressing or suppressing them, pushing them away, trying to not experience them, that is what makes it so much more unbearable and worse. So at the beginning, maybe it is good to understand that these feelings of sadness and fear and so forth, they belong. They are there. Isn't it obvious that they are there? I think this instinctive impulse in the beginning, when we're faced with very difficult circumstances, is always to get rid of it, trying not to feel it, trying to suppress it. But that is not the way. Also, many people use meditative exercises, etc., in order to suppress their feelings, to not having to experience them. Again, that is not the way. So let's turn to kindness. Kindness, at its root, is based on acceptance. Let me tell you quite a recent story of myself when I lost my mom to cancer. And I was at her bedside while she passed away. That was very, very difficult to witness. I mean, if it's our own parents that are dying right in front of our eyes, that are passing away, that is without a doubt one of the most challenging experiences in one's lifetime. And with all my background, with all my training and everything, at this moment of time when she passed away and she finally made her last breath and moved on, I found myself bursting in tears and crying after she died. And at the same time, while I was crying, I was mindful of the fact that I was crying. So I was watching myself cry there. But it wasn't pure mindfulness. It was kind of a judgmental mindfulness. So that kind of mindfulness was also carrying a line of thought which was something like, oh man, now you're standing here and you're crying and you've been talking so much about death and you're contemplated so much impermanence of life and you did all these practices and here you are like a little heap of suffering. You shouldn't be crying. You should be kind, you should be understanding, you should be mindful, but not crying. Death is normal, isn't it? And difficulties in life are normal, aren't they? And I had all these wise sentences going around in my head, and I was using them against me at this moment. I was, in fact, I didn't want to experience what I was experiencing, namely the truth of life. I just did not want to be like that. I did not want to see that. I did not want to go through this. And I think most of you or all of you can relate to this. The first impulse is to say no to what is going on, including to yourself and your reaction to the situation. No, this should not happen. I should not have to go through this. They should not have to go through this. But then there is life, and life says, but it is. And it is like this. There is pain, there is suffering, there's all these difficult emotions. It's all there. And then you would reply again, no, but it should not be there. And so here is this opportunity for us to practice kindness properly. And I believe it is important to first of all direct kindness towards oneself. And it begins with accepting the way it is, the way you are. How would you react to a friend who would break down in tears upon seeing his mother die? would you not understand? Would you not accept your friend in his or her misery? Now that is an example of kindness. You would not go to your friend and say, you shouldn't cry, stop crying. You should be mindful instead and wise and above the situation and composed and spiritual and maybe even happy. Haven't you seen this documentary about this other country where the people are celebrating death? Should you be celebrating death as well? And so forth. Would you react to your friend in such a way? Or would you rather accept him fully, unconditionally, with a deep kind of understanding? And so this is what kindness does. It catches you. It catches your fear, your sadness, your sense of helplessness in the face of uncertainty. It can understand that. Of course we feel this. Of course we are afraid. It is normal. And it is okay. There's nothing wrong with these emotions. Ultimately, there is nothing wrong with feelings. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. There's nothing wrong with life and death. There's nothing wrong with pain and pleasure. These things all exist. They're all there. And instead of holding on to pleasure and pushing pain away, we practice to accept these things. That is the practice of kindness, essentially. Can you sit there with your fear in the face of uncertainty and let it be? This is what I would recommend everyone right now in these times to practice a lot. Instead of fueling your fear by consuming one article after another online, by watching one movie after another, by keeping the conversation going constantly, keeping the mind and the body trapped in fight and flight, stressing yourself out, making yourself more and more miserable, weakening your immune system, instead of pushing your fear or trying to get rid of it by unskillfully ignoring it, by unskillfully shutting yourself into your room and only consuming happy videos, happy articles, like suppressing your fear. Accept that it's there every time you're confronted with it naturally, by a friend, for example, that comes to you and tells you about the newest coronavirus story that he's just read. Instead of then trying to run away from that, this is life giving you an opportunity to be kind to your fear. So right there you are confronted with your fear. You don't want to be confronted with it. You don't want to experience it. Start by accepting that fact first. Yes, here I am, resisting an uncomfortable sensation. I'm resisting fear. That's what is going on right now. I don't want to feel it. Isn't this normal? Isn't this understandable? Now let me just be with that. Here I am with my resistance to a feeling that I understandably don't want to experience. Here I am. This is like this. It is like this. And it's okay to be like this. And I am able to give my discomfort and my fight against my discomfort space. I can do this. I can let this be. And then you sit quietly, or stand quietly, or lie down quietly, allowing yourself to be a human being with human emotion. In the middle of this storm of uncertainty, heading towards death, being subject to illness and old age, trying to desperately hold on to something that might give me some certainty in all of this change, but never really finding anything that is completely reliable. What else would I expect myself to feel in the face of this storm? So it's also okay to talk with yourself like this, and to show yourself that you're understanding yourself, and that it's okay to feel this, and that there's nothing to get rid of in your fear. Actually, when you start to get to know your fear and you accept it, gradually it will relax. All the tension that's carried with fear will start to melt. This is just the same case that when you have children and your child is waking up in the night after a nightmare and it's shivering and crying, and you simply go there and you assure it that everything is okay and that you're here, and it's okay to cry and it's okay to feel this fear fully, because you understand it. Of course it feels fear. It just had a nightmare. And it can't really yet distinguish between being awake in its room and the dream reality which has just passed. So of course it's disturbed. So you just simply sit there and hold it in your arms. And you comfort it. And you wait. You're just waiting there. Just sitting there with it. And talking kindly with it. Helping your child to process this emotion, to give it space, to let this emotion pass through your child, because it has to. There's nothing you can do to prevent your child from having a nightmare. It's a natural fact of life. There's nothing that you can do to shield your child from fear. We're all subject to fear. All human beings are. We're all subject to uncertainty, to instability, to change. We're all subject to all these discomforts that arise alongside with the comforts in life. And we each have to experience a variety of discomforts and a variety of comforts. We have to experience very difficult situations and wonderful situations. They naturally arise and pass within our life as a consequence of our actions, our decisions, as a simple consequence of being born into this world, which is like this. So in the beginning, I would highly recommend and really stress this point. Don't try not to be scared. Don't try to be in control. Don't try to resist, push away, or kind of get rid of the unpleasant situations that present themselves to you. Instead, practice to accept with love and warmth and understanding and all the space you have, which is infinite. You can accept everything there is. The only one that rebels against conditions in the mind and the body is the mind itself. The idea that it should not be rebels against the truth of what is. So let's start by accepting the idea of it should not be. Accept it. It's normal to have that. It's not your enemy. It's just simply a fact that exists in the mind. There is this idea of it should not be that way. There is a fight against truth. And remember, you're not alone in this either. We're all brothers and sisters in suffering. So what is the next appropriate response to that? The next appropriate response, of course, is to act kindly, with compassion and understanding. It's the only appropriate response to a world filled with suffering, a world filled with uncertainty and instability. Then there is patience. Then there is equanimity, the skill to be pulled by the good or be pulled by the bad. Instead, equanimity allows you to stand firmly in the middle of all this. Like a rock that stands at a beach, and the tides come and the tides go, and the rock stands there, strong, centered. There's all these various responses, but fear, it is not a response to indulge in. It is not a response to fight against either. It is one of those responses that need to be accepted and let go of. Because whenever fear becomes embodied in you, meaning whenever you express or suppress your fear, then it gains power and momentum, and it will manifest in the form of actions. It becomes more concrete in this world, and it leads to decisions, and it leads to erratic behaviors, and it leads to more fear and more suffering in the long run and in the short run. It is unwise to suppress or express fear. Unfortunately, we're not only left with these two approaches, either expressing it or suppressing it. Fortunately, there is also accepting and letting it go. You simply see, there is my past expressing itself. The fear that you're feeling is ancient. The helplessness you're feeling is ancient. These are all ancient emotions. They exist in this world. Ultimately, they're not personal. They're like wind that blows through you, as if you were a room. But some rooms have closed windows, so the wind stays within those rooms. So think of yourself as a room, and the fear that comes and goes is allowed fully to pass through you. It is allowed to do its thing. You realize, here is a very old emotion. Here is my past trying to manifest itself in the present moment so it can grow further into the future, so I can maintain a sense of self that I am used to. And this is why we practice meditation every day, right? It is why we sit down in the morning, we sit down in the evening, we stabilize the mind and we rest the knowing quality. On one object, we stabilize everything so we can see clearly the truth of the matter of life. You can see the body is like this, emotions are like this. People and events are like this. And then more and more, as you see more and more clearly, your inner eyes are opening up. That you see that there is nothing wrong with it. It's okay. And these things are allowed to exist. In fact, they could not exist. They have to exist. They are a result of our past actions. All the feelings you have, all the reactions that are stored within your greater mind, all the habit patterns. It all has to exist. It has been cultivated carefully since ancient times. Carefully, it has been carefully crafted, but unconsciously. And it's been fed with your attention, wrong attention. Wrong attention meaning either the attention that seeks to hold something or the attention that seeks to get rid of something. Here the attention that we use is more skillful. It is an attention that allows something to be there. It has no agenda. I'm not trying to get rid of my fear. And beware, sometimes when you are practicing your techniques, your meditation, then, or in a difficult situation, then you might apply this very tricky kind of backdoor behavior. You try to allow it in order to get rid of it, so that there's this kind of little backdoor where the aversion slips in again. And the aversion says, okay, let's do this thing that Tobi was talking about in his recent teaching, and let's just try to let the fear be. You see, the word trying alone already, it implies your true agenda. It shows you want something to happen. You're not just there and accepting it as a truth of life. Life shows itself to you like this right now. Can you let it be? Can you see it clearly and understand it? Can you allow it to teach you where you're holding on? Where are you sticky? Where are you burdening yourself? See, life is really kindly teaching you all the time where you're stuck. It shows you where you're in the way of truth, where this little ego inside the mind, this little sense of self, stands right in front of truth saying no. Gives you every time this little chance to stop fighting with life, to leave yourself at peace, to put down your swords and your weapons and stop fighting. It's okay to be afraid. It's perfectly fine to have fear. There's, in fact, nothing you can do. You will have to experience those emotions in your life, sooner or later. Maybe you are experiencing some of those emotions right now. Please stop fighting them. They are normal, they're natural, they're okay. Just like your heartbeat, just like your liver's work, just like your digestion, just like your breath, just like the wind in the trees around you, just like the birds or the cars that you hear with your ears. It's all okay. It belongs. There's not a single atom that is out of place. Not a single emotion or mental state that does not belong into this moment. Approach it like this. Giving up this idea that you must get rid of things and you must put order into things and you must somehow process them and digest them and do stuff to them. There's nothing to be done. Not in this practice. We are building the power of acceptance. The power of giving this world and its endless dualistic games space. Neither trying to make it quote-unquote right or quote-unquote fixing it. but clearly understanding that everything we are experiencing individually and as a collective right now is the result of past actions. There's no way that these results cannot show. They have to show because their causes are firmly established, and the condition that leads to growth within them is continuously practiced in this world by all of us, as a collective and as an individual. We are all building this world together with our actions, with our perceptions. If you want to go even a little bit deeper, you can say this world is building itself through all there is. Nothing is personal. Conditions create further conditions. Your mind is one of those conditions. Can you let it be? Can you free your mind? Can you free your fear? Can you free everything about you and everything about this world? Not trying to own it, control it, fix it, hold it, change it anymore. Simply let it be. And through this letting be, let it teach you. It is one of the highest forms of learning to see something clearly as it is. Stop fighting it. And yes, I agree, this is not an easy task. But ultimately, the real suffering in everything is our resistance or our stickiness, our attachment to things. But through consistent sitting practice in the morning and the evening, and maybe even during the middle of the day, if you find the time, sit down for longer times and really work on your mind. It's the only thing you can rely on once you find a center within yourself. It's the only thing where you can find something reliable. You cannot find anything reliable in the world of cause and condition. You cannot find anything reliable outside of yourself or anywhere. The one aspect of yourself that you can rely on is that very aspect which is looking itself. That's the right direction to turn. So I want to end this session with one of my favorite quotes. This is a quote by Franciscus of Assisi, who's a Christian saint. And he said, or he is said to have said, that what you're looking for is where you are looking from. So instead of continuously being lost in the world of appearances, trying to find anything reliable or pleasurable or, something important there, something you could lean on, instead of searching in this world of changes, look right at the one who is looking. Look right there. Before you turn your eyes fully around, look at the appearances coming and going and let them be. Free them from your oppression. So this is all that comes to mind. Currently, I wish truly from the heart, all of you who are going through this time with a lot of hardship and a lot of fear and a lot of confusion in your minds, I wish all of you to gain this release of kindness and acceptance, allowing yourselves to be human beings, not trying to be anything else other than what you are, and fully accepting what you are and what this world is, and finding unshakable peace within this. Have a wonderful weekend as well. look out for yourselves and your families. And yeah, be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye.